I'm Gary.
This is Austin.
And we are Midwest Mikes coming back at you with another episode after what is, in my opinion, the greatest weekend of NFL football of all time.
So it usually is. It usually is the best games, and it usually is the most competitive games. This weekend was – the football was amazing. Low scoring or high scoring, all the games were really, really good and really tough to bet on.
Yes.
And so it was tough. Made it through. I enjoyed every game. It was one of those things where I'm going to talk about, like, we don't have to lead with this game, but Chiefs-Bills.
We can lead with it. Let's lead with it.
Let's lead with it. Okay, it's crazy to me, and people probably don't feel this way. Even if the Bills would have won, I still would have said, dude, that was probably the best game I've ever watched. Or one of the top five.
Oh, it's definitely top five for me of all-time games. Probably top 2 or 3.
I'm trying to think.
Off the top of my head, I can't really think of better games that I've watched. I will say this. I do think the NFL overtime rule will get changed now. Just and not because it went against necessarily the Bills, but in 2 of the last 4 years, okay, in overtime, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league have not touched the ball in overtime.
And I will say this. I'm not opposed to it. I won't cry about the rule.
Yeah. Now, Buffalo should not cry about the rule. Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, if you look back at our show, I mean, we were doing it 2-3 years ago when it happened to Mahomes. Yeah. We said the same thing at the time, like, hey, don't let it come down to that, right?
Hey,
that's always kind of our deal.
We said, hey, don't let it come down to it. Hey, you got to get a stop. I'm sorry, you got to get a stop. But at the
same time, I think this will get the rule changed that both teams get to touch the ball. Now, do I think they need to go with a college style? No, I do not. Because I think, like, that game could have went on forever.
So the hard thing about it is basically the goal of overtime is to end the game, especially for the professionals. You don't want to get them hurt or use extra. I mean, it was a big deal to get the 17th game added on. Huge thing in the CBA. And so to change overtime would have to go through CBA again because you're saying, oh, wait, these players.
That could be extra snaps.
Yeah, it's extra snaps. And so you got to say, okay, what do we got to do here? I actually don't know. I don't know what the exact solution is, but and I've heard somebody propose, hey, how about let's do 1st to 8? Like, that would be all right. And I'm like, okay, so Chiefs would have had to go for 2. They still might have got it, but dang, you would have felt a little bit better because it's like, shoot, you gave up a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Like, that's huge. But
my
whatever
thing,
they want to do, I'm good with it because I'm good with it.
My thing is, like, again, I don't want to go with a college overtime type rule, but I do want to go with something where both quarterbacks get a chance. So I think, like, each team gets a possession. Like, you still kick off. They get their possession. If you go 3 and out, you punt. That team goes and gets points, whether that be a field goal or a touchdown.
Right.
That's game. Now, if you go down and get a touchdown, that team matches you. You just keep playing till one team gets a stop. I think eventually somebody, will get a stop.
So now, you're saying at least one possession each,
at least one possession,
and then go from there.
So, like, after the first team has had their possession, if they do not score, essentially it's sudden death. Or if both teams score on their first possession,
then it goes to sudden death.
Then it's sudden death.
Okay, I'm down. I'm down for that. Yeah, sure.
But again, we'll see. That Kansas City Bills game though was phenomenal. Obviously, the last 2 minutes of the game was fucking insane with all the points that were scored. I will say this. How were you feeling with 13 seconds? I mean, when the Bills scored and went up, 13 seconds left, where was your mental state?
I'm trying to remember.
And I mean, you're a homer.
I'm a big homer. I think I was like a 50-50. It was like one of those things where I was like, oh, no. And then I did that thing where I go, oh, well, if they do this and they do that, I mean, maybe. Like, it was like that. so I wasn't like all the way out of it, but I was. It wasn't like I said, no problem. Like I was like,
It wasn't like a couple years ago when the Chiefs went down 24-6 against Houston
in the first quarter.
And you're like, oh, they're definitely coming back right now. Like, and you were putting money on the line, like, oh, Chiefs are about to come back and win this shit.
I wouldn't have. No, I didn't. So as far as gambling goes and live betting, I didn't put any more live money on. I already had the Chiefs minus 2.5. Which I wish I would have waited. I would have got 1.5. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. But at the same time, I wasn't patient. Just like I'm not patient for this Sunday. I already got minus 7, which I probably could have waited for 6.5. But anyways, I was 50-50. But I was still like I said, it was one of those things where I was down, but I was still going, okay, if we do this, we do that. Like, okay, I don't know. And they literally, they ran. It's crazy. The most perfect you could possibly. Besides somebody breaking it, which no one's really going to break it on the Bills are number one defense. No one's breaking it deep on what the scheme they're playing, right? They're giving up underneath. But at the same time, they're not it's crazy. It really doesn't happen.
No.
And so like for that to happen, you go, okay, this is insane. And the other thing after the game I got to remind myself I am so lucky that freaking Mahomes is my quarterback. Like that's crazy because I feel like you would feel like when Denver got Peyton for 2 or 3 years and you go, I can't believe we got Peyton after Tebow, like that, or like when you're when
talking about that guy who likes Jesus.
After the guy that likes Jesus, okay, it was a couple
anyway.
ways.
Sorry, inside joke.
That's an inside joke.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, no, it'd be like it's just like when you're that team and you go, I can't believe he drafted this guy, and he's on our team. Like this is crazy. Really, Buffalo should feel that way. Really should. I think if you say, hey, Josh Allen's over under on Super Bowls, what is it? And you say 1.5 or 2. If it's 1.5, I'll take over because I think when people say, "Hey, we think Josh Allen and Mahomes are the new Peyton and Brady," I would say I agree.
So, as a Cowboys fan and having watched my game the previous week, okay, I was at home watching this one with my wife. She's a huge Chiefs fan. I was kind of honestly with her, like when they scored to go up, her reaction was, fuck, it's over. Like, it's 13 seconds left.
Well, that's totally rational.
And honestly, like I kind of thought the same thing. Now, when Buffalo chose to kick it into the end zone, versus squibbing it and making them use a couple of those seconds,
that was very surprising.
That was very surprising to me, like as a coach, because I'm thinking like, okay, I want to take some time off the clock with the kickoff here because you do know Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. Now, again, 13 seconds, like you're like, oh, he's not going to go down and score. But at the same time, you're like, let's get this down to 10.
Okay, so you tell me this. We know that Sean McDermott is a good head coach, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the reasoning behind not squibbing?
I have no idea.
Because I don't know.
He's
for a fact he's a guy that he's not Adam Gase. He's not.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
He's a good head coach.
Like, he had some kind of like. Okay,
I'm sure he had a reason.
Oh yeah, he said, and I'm sure he had some reason. I'm sure he had some game where he remembers and goes, "Oh, I better not squib because X, Y, Z. This has happened before, so I need to do this because look at this. If you 9 times out of 10 you do that, that game does not end that way. I
guess possibly. Which we'll get to the Tennessee game and then losing in Cincinnati. But, kind of a squib kick deal was the Music City Miracle, which happened in the divisional round.
Dang, it's still a miracle. But he has a reason.
So maybe I'm not saying that is the game that pointed him to say like, hey, I'm not going to squib it so they can't do something crazy and throw a lateral across the field and do this and do that. I don't know, but, maybe that was in his reasoning.
Every coach makes decisions that make you scratch your head a little bit, but do they have some kind of reason behind it? There's a it's late in the game and there's like a 3rd and 1 Chiefs have, and they run an option with our second string tight end Bell at QB.
Which Bell had taken a few snaps this year.
Yeah, and it still was like it's strange for 3rd and 1. And I'm like, man, that does not feel great to take Mahomes out of the play on 3rd and 1. Like that doesn't.
Yeah, Romo said that on the broadcast.
And doesn't. It's really
why
strange.
Don't you want Mahomes on touch the ball?
Now those guys have their reasoning for doing the way that the things they do, and Andy Reid and Bieniemy they're way up. And so that's something. So every coach does the strange calls.
So I'm gonna put this question out to the listeners as we kind of wrap up this Chiefs Bills game and go through the rest of the games this weekend. But we're both in agreement that's definitely a top 5 NFL game of all time, if not higher, if not 1 or 2. What would you put above it, if anything, or what would you put in your top 5 of NFL games that you have watched? Now, I don't want to talk about games you went back and watched, like that you weren't watching live.
So like live.
Yeah, but that you watched live in your lifetime. What's
and I would say
what's a game? Let's put that out to the listeners. Hit us on Twitter at Midwest Mikes or Facebook.
And don't feel like a homer if like your favorite team is the Ravens and they had something amazing happen, or the Super Bowl against the Niners. Like that's your top. Like that's cool. For me, I mean, off the top of my head is a lot of Chiefs stuff. So like.
Yeah,
off the top of my head is that game, and then Chiefs Rams Monday night. We lost, but that was a great game. And then Chiefs Super Bowl comeback against the Niners for me is an awesome game.
Yeah.
And so everybody has their own like best games they've ever watched. So that's that.
I mean, to me, like the Romo game in Seattle where he fumbled the snap. I mean, that was a really good football game.
Great game.
Dang. It didn't end the way. I mean, obviously, as a Cowboys fan, that's one that comes to my mind.
That's tough, man.
Dez caught it in Green Bay.
Tough.
That's one that comes to mind. But anyway, we'll throw it out to the Twitterverse. What are some of your favorite NFL games? And again, like he said, you want to be a homer? Be a homer. Like
be a homer.
Typically,
Detroit
the games
Lions,
you watch are your team. So
Detroit Lions fans.
Maybe they had a memorable comeback on Thanksgiving Day.
On a comeback, and then the thing is, everybody will go, "Oh yeah, that was really good," because I don't remember that. But at the same time, if you tell me about it, I'll be like, "Whoa!"
For me, I'm not sure the Super Bowl number, but it was Pittsburgh, Arizona.
Oh, yes,
it was a really good Super Bowl. Giants,
and
Patriots, where the Patriots were undefeated. That was a really good Super Bowl.
Catch on the helmet?
Yeah, the helmet catch. So, just throwing some out there. What are yours, guys?
Yeah.
Listeners. Or reply under the video and let us know.
Okay, so next game,
whichever one you want to go to. You throw it out.
Let's go Tennessee, Cincy.
Okay, Tennessee, Cincy.
It didn't go like I thought.
No, me either. I really thought a fresh Derrick Henry, and they would just come back and pound it. I don't think it was the week off. I think Cincy went in there with the right game plan to beat the Titans, and I mean that's kind of what they did.
And people say that stuff, like they'll come in and be like, well, the week off made him something. That's not true, because if you go back statistically through the NFL,
the one seed usually
goes to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the percentage is the one seed goes. There are times where the wild card goes or the underdog beats them or whatever, and then they go, well, they took a week off, so they're rusty. No, it's not.
They're NFL players.
They're NFL players, and guess what? Historically, the one seed actually always goes to the Super Bowl. So stop that crap. So I would say Cincinnati is basically Cincinnati to me is really hot right now. I was worried. I was worried about Kansas City, Buffalo, even though I feel like KC is like the third hottest team right now behind Bengals, Niners, Chiefs is what I had as like hot on fire teams.
Yeah.
Cincy and Burrow played a really nice game. I think Henry wasn't. I don't know. I wouldn't. After watching him run, I wouldn't say he was like 50%. I would say he was like 85%.
Yeah.
Because I took the over on his yardage, and there was runs where I was like, man, he normally breaks that off, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And I would say this too about Tannehill. Tannehill, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback at all. He fits that system 100% perfect. But that dude has to have play action. He has to have a reliable rushing attack, or he is not going to do what he's got to do.
I think so too. I really just want to kind of take this time compliment Joe Burrow as a young quarterback, second-year guy, coming in there in a road playoff game where I'd say literally 90% of the football fans had you counted out. And those 10% were Cincinnati fans.
Yeah.
That are just homers and die hard.
And nobody
and you got the win.
And the sentiment is no one thought Cincinnati was going to get blown out.
No, but they just he's going to make a mistake that's going to cost them, right?
Line was I think 4.5 or 3.5.
Something 4.5.
And I'm thinking Tennessee 6, 7.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like that was unreasonable. I didn't think Tennessee was going to go in there and whoop them by 21. No. I thought, man, Cincinnati's pretty good, playing really well. But dang, Vrabel's record on off a bye is insanely good.
Yeah,
his preparations. I would say this: if anybody has any doubts, I don't think they do. But if anybody has doubts about Vrabel as a head coach, get rid of it. Yeah. Even though they lost, dude, Vrabel. If I was a Tennessee fan, I would be like, "Hey, we're still around. We're still good. Will they be the team that go that makes the playoffs and misses next year? Maybe, depending on who Indy gets at quarterback. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Tennessee fans shouldn't think like, "Oh, we're garbage." Cincinnati's a hot team right now, so
they are.
Okay,
so kind of enough about that game.
Yeah,
and we'll talk Chiefs Bengals here in a minute.
And it says something to the weekend where I feel like that was the worst game, right?
Ooh, I don't know if there's a worst game.
Or that was the least best game?
Maybe.
I enjoyed San Fran Green Bay.
Yeah, so we'll go
San Fran. I'm sorry, man.
Dude, so
we bet so opposite on this game.
We did. I said last week I thought Green Bay was going to whoop that ass.
I had San Fran.
I thought they would. You said it was going to be close.
I said San Fran, and I bet money line because the money line was I got it at plus 200 and I got a plus 210. I won like $65 on that game.
So after that game, which Green Bay special teams were absolutely terrible. They should
statistically they are the worst in the league.
They should have fired that guy like the day after the game. He still has a job. I don't know why. I would have fired him in the locker room after the game. You got a field goal blocked and a punt blocked in the same night.
I can tell you why.
But anyway, regardless of all that, okay, and I've been an Aaron Rodgers guy, and I have not told you this yet. But I'm going to say it right now, okay? Aaron Rodgers is not as good as we thought he was.
I disagree with that.
Okay? He's got one Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Jimmy Garoppolo has a Super Bowl appearance.
Well, that's true.
Okay, he didn't win it.
Yeah, that's true.
But him and Jimmy Garoppolo have the same amount of NFC championships.
Okay. Come on now.
Aaron Rodgers is not as good as we thought he was. And this is going to lead into
I don't buy that.
This is going to lead into my McCarthy stuff here in a few minutes, but
I think
that's called a tease.
I don't buy that. I still think Aaron Rodgers is elite. I don't know. I think
not in the postseason.
Man, postseason is pretty good. Come on.
What's his record in the postseason?
What is his record? I don't know.
It's terrible.
It's a losing record. He's still. Hey, a lot of teams want this dude. Come on.
And he's the clips last week were coming out again from where he said when they asked him, hey, how do you feel about not being a San Francisco 49er? And he's like, I'm going to make him regret not drafting me. Well, he's 0-3 or 0-4 against them in the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
So,
Niners
pretty sure they don't regret it.
Two things on the San Fran game, and reasons why I bet him heavy. I have Kyle Shanahan ranked above Matt LaFleur. I said that last week. I think Kyle Shanahan is an awesome coach because you've seen this. I said last week too. You've seen this dude win games with Nick Mullins at quarterback. I mean, like, Trey Lance comes in, doesn't skip a beat. Like, he has, I think he scripts his first 25 plays, and then he keeps going from there because he basically wants to see, because they run the ball a lot, and he wants to see how you're going to line up against all his little running formations, power formations that he runs with his fullback and all that stuff. Kind of interesting what he did on Sunday, and I caught this on a podcast I listened to. He ran no motion play. They usually run a lot of motion, zero motion first half. Second half, almost every play was motion. So it was some kind of adjustment that he was like looking for in the first half, and in the second half he goes, okay, here's the adjustment. But San Fran did get a little lucky that they escaped the first half 7-0 because Jimmy G in the first half was not very good. And Green Bay was all over him, sacking him. He threw a horrible interception, like stuff like that. And so I was like, I feel like that score, I'm not even saying I was right about, like, I won that bet. But, dude, Green Bay probably should have been up 14-0 probably after that first half.
To me, if you're an elite quarterback, like I had been on Aaron Rodgers, and you had been on Aaron Rodgers.
You were on Aaron Rodgers more than me.
I was.
You bet on him harder than I do.
I do. And I'm not anymore because, 10 points in a home playoff game? You got to do more for me than that, bud.
I mean,
you got to do more than 10.
He's still a great one.
Well,
maybe I don't know.
Seen.
So I like San Fran a lot. What I think is a hot team. They basically, and I think you agree, you saw them play Dallas. They take the guys they have and they put them in the best position.
Yes.
Deebo Samuel runs all over that field and does whatever job they need him to do. It's amazing to watch what they do with that dude.
So I will say this. I think that San Francisco is the best coached team left in the NFC. I think that's
between him and Sean McVay.
I think that's what got them to the NFC championship.
I love McVay. I understand. I love McVay, man.
And
that's so hard.
I would put him above Zach Stacy in Cincinnati.
I agree.
Obviously, I'm not going to put him above Andy Reid right now.
Can't put him above Andy.
Because of Andy Reid's track record. Just now, say Shanahan does this for another 20 years, then there's a discussion to be made, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But right now, no, I'm not putting him above Andy Reid. So don't hate me, Chiefs fans.
No, they won't. No, Andy Reid's 8.
But I'm saying there's 4 coaches left.
Yeah.
And my 1-2 would be Andy Reid and then Shanahan.
Andy Reid is 8 championship game appearances, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory, and then it's an insane track record to follow.
And I talk shit,
and the coaching tree is really really good too.
And I know I talk shit about Andy Reid's 1-2 in the big game, but he still made it 3 fucking times.
Yeah, he did pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Other game, Tampa Rams.
Oh my gosh! So it was.
Don't let Tom have a chance.
No,
he will almost beat you every time.
Sunday I said I was watching the games with my wife. We left to go get some Minskys.
I was wrong on that game too.
Yeah, me too. It was 27-3. We left to go get Minskys. We're driving to Minsky's. I look, all of a sudden it's 27-10. And I'm like, well, they've been all over them all day. It's late third quarter. And my wife says, don't ever count Tom Brady out. Which, you don't, right? 28-3. Then the Rams fumble. They fumble again. Like, there's a bunch of turnovers. All of a sudden, you've got a 1-score game. And you're like, what just happened? Like, you're thinking in your mind, at least I am, like, oh, fuck, Tom Brady's doing it again. Like,
I'm
this
not
guy
even, and I bet on it. I am like, okay, so I'm at Adam's house, and they all like to, because people love
to hate Tom Brady.
So, blah, blah, Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's 27-3, and I'm telling them, hey, Tom's going to bring him back in this game. And they're like, there ain't no shot. And I'm just sitting calm. I crack a beer, and I'm like, watch this. It's going to happen. And actually, a few, like 2 or 3 drives happen where Tampa's horrible. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, hey, look at this. Hey, you guys thought Tom Brady was going to come back? almost comes back. Actually, does come back.
Yeah.
And then Matt Stafford hits a bomb to Cooper Kupp 2 times. That dude is awesome.
And honestly, when they tied it up, I was like, why are they not just taking a knee and going to overtime?
I've heard a lot of national media say that stuff too.
Why are they like? I was literally sitting here watching it because we were back, and I'm like, why are they not just going to overtime? You're bleeding right now. Like, stop the bleeding, regroup, and let's go to overtime.
Dude, I would say this, and it's going to pay off for Sean McVay to have that much faith in his quarterback. Like Stafford's going to be like, this guy trusts me. This guy, I mean, Sean McVay's done nothing to say like to Stafford, just bomb it, dude. Like even he had I think last 3 or 4 or 5, 3 games, 4 games, 8 interceptions, and still McVay's like, Stafford, you're my guy, you got it. I really really like Sean McVay, dude. Like
then literally, if there is a guy, like I'm gonna double in that situation. It's Cooper Kupp.
Okay,
I texted my head coach and co-defensive coordinator. Was like, why are they leaving Cooper Kupp that open? He's like, well, he's Todd Bowles' cover 0 guy.
Yeah, I saw the breakdown. He ran nickel blitz, and there was not enough guys back there, and they had one guy going. It was like a nickel blitz on a zone 3, and one guy back there on Cooper Kupp who is. leads the league
like,
and leads the league in receptions and yardage, right?
Yeah, I mean, just at that point, which again, it's 2-sided coin. We talk about all the time. They run prevent and get beat. Everybody's going to question that.
Yep,
you
play too
blitz soft. and don't get there, and now they're getting questioned. But to me, I at least would have doubled Cooper Kupp and said he's not going to beat me in this situation. But, again, hey, hats off. So let's talk about the NFC first. LA Rams hosting the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers won both games this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been, it's always going to be a close game, I feel like, between these two.
Mm-hmm.
I said I think the coaching advantage is with San Francisco. Quarterback advantage, I would go LA.
I agree with that.
Receivers advantage, I would go
LA. It's LA. OBJ
LA just barely because OBJ is coming back.
OBJ's had a nice half a season. Second half.
So, but I am going to go with the Rams to win the game.
Me too.
And go to the Super Bowl.
Me too.
They were your preseason Super Bowl pick.
Yep.
I think they just have too much talent. It's a home game. And they're going to find a way to squeak it out by 3 or less.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is I watched these games on Sunday, and I'm glad I did because they'll help me make bets this weekend. And I saw Jimmy G under pressure in Green Bay's their quarterback pressure, their rushing. Rushing the quarterback is pretty average, actually, which is actually why I like San Fran. But they still got to Jimmy G. The freaking Rams have 2 of the best pass rushers in the NFL on their team. They have Von Miller and they have freaking Aaron Donald. And those dudes can run all over the field and get to Jimmy G and make him make 1 or 2 horrible throws. Not saying that Stafford won't make a horrible throw because he probably will, but Jimmy G will make a game-breaking, horrible trash throw.
I mean, he did it against Dallas and he did it against Green Bay.
He did it against Green Bay. And the thing is, you watch him 90% of the game, Jimmy G is fine. And I like Jimmy G. Like if you're a team that has no quarterback and San Fran is going to move on from him, you should trade for him. You should 100% trade for him because Jimmy G wins. He wins games. He's like, I wouldn't say he's Alex Smith. I would just say
I can't believe San Francisco would give him up. But
I think what they're thinking.
That's a whole show in itself.
And like in a 5-second thing on that is, hey, it's easier to win with a rookie salary cap. I mean, a rookie against a salary cap. It's easier. Chiefs done it. But I would say this: I take Rams. I have not bet that game yet, but I like Rams to win the game.
Obviously, Chiefs Bengals.
Chiefs.
You're going Chiefs.
Yes.
I am too. Just Bengals are hot, but again, they haven't been there. Reed's been there. Mahomes has been there. Tyreek, Kelsey, the whole deal.
Yep.
Joe Burrow made the comment this week about or actually he didn't make it this week. It was earlier in the season that some NFL stadiums are not even as loud as SEC stadiums, which, college stadiums hold more people, so that really makes sense. But he's getting a lot of hate on it. And Arrowhead is the loudest NFL stadium. It's outdoors.
I got no problem with Burrow.
I don't either. I don't have a problem with him.
If I was a Bengals fan, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I just think, and I'm not saying they won't be back to this point in another year, but this year, Chiefs edge them out. So Chiefs Rams Super Bowl.
I think so too.
Which is what you predicted at the very beginning of the year. How does that feel?
Feels pretty good. I was a little bit off on I actually had, I didn't say he was going to win MVP, but I had Matt Stafford as like a outside shot to win MVP. I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but I had Matt Stafford an outside shot. And I think actually no, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. Hey, good for the Rams. I like Matt Stafford. I do, man. I'm pumped that he it's a common theme in the NFL that the teams that stay bad have horrible ownership. I'm not talking about your team as like, we win 10, 11 games and we're decent. I'm talking about the teams that stay in the cellar. Your ownership is horrible. Detroit is one of those teams. Miami's one of those teams. Fire a coach that had winning records 2 years in a row. What are you doing? The Giants, Jacksonville, Detroit, Chicago, like the owners are bad. Good for Matt Stafford. I know he loves Detroit, and good for him. And I know the city loves him too. I think the Lions fans are rooting for him actually. Yeah. But dude, good for him from getting out from under that horrible organization that's ruined careers.
Yeah. So, real quick as we close, why don't you kind of throw it out there since I'm the Cowboys fan?
Sean Payton?
Yeah, with the whole Sean Payton thing and the rumors.
Sean Payton leaves the Saints. I'm retiring. It is kind of weird. It's kind of weird. He goes on vacation, retires. It's in the back of everybody's brain because Jerry Jones loves this dude. So I think you're correct when you're saying if Mike McCarthy doesn't do the deed this year or even partially through the year, he's out. And the Cowboys trade some draft picks to get Sean Payton in. Am I correct in what you're thinking?
Yeah, so, here's the deal. Everybody knows Sean Payton was in Dallas. He was a Parcells guy. Jerry Jones let him interview for the Saints job because at the time they had to request permission because he was the offensive coordinator of the Cowboys.
Right.
They did. He got the job. He brings in Drew Brees, and the rest is history, right? They win a Super Bowl. Bring New Orleans, a lot of
competitive every year.
Yeah, and they were really good every year. I mean, I've talked a lot about Drew Brees on the show. You have too, but
I love Drew Brees.
So now with Mike McCarthy was already kind of under the microscope in the national media. One, because he's the Dallas Cowboys head coach, and no matter what anybody says, Dallas Cowboys are still America's team. They're still a draw. People watch them.
I don't agree.
They were 5 of the top 10 games.
Yeah. I don't know about the America's team thing, but they are a huge draw and they have a huge fan base.
So he was already under the microscope. He made some questionable decisions this year and in the playoff game. And then now with Sean Payton being not the head coach of the Saints, there's more questions. I personally think that they should wait. And yes, if McCarthy does not win the Super Bowl next year, then Jerry will get rid of him and he will pay whatever it takes to get Sean Payton in a year. The thing that bothers me right now as a Cowboys fan is the only comments we have from Jerry, which Everyone knows he's the ultimate decision maker in that organization. Not his son, not anyone else.
Right.
Jerry is the guy. Okay? For years, when Jason Garrett was the coach, we heard Jason Garrett will be the football coach of this team next year. Jerry has not said that about McCarthy. The only comments we have is that he has to evaluate the entire coaching staff. So that worries me a little bit. I think getting rid of McCarthy would be an emotional decision to a disappointing game. I think McCarthy should get one more year. But at the same time, I don't know what Jerry Jones is thinking. So nothing at this point would surprise me if he pulled the trigger and went and got Sean Payton. Now, Sean Payton has said, I'm not going to coach next year. But, I mean, we all know there's a check big enough to get you to do almost anything, right? And
Sure.
if anybody can write that check, it's Jerry Jones.
Sure. On the flip side of that, New Orleans, $70 million over cap. They'll figure it out. They'll probably restructure a bunch of guys and then cut probably one or two big guys. If Tom Brady does retire, which it looks like maybe,
It's a possibility. We'll talk more about that next week.
and then and I would say if Jameis actually comes back to New Orleans, if Jameis is still on their team, it automatically actually makes them the best team in the NFC South to me. And actually, they were like in playoff, like when Jameis was playing, they're a playoff team. They were winning games. He's wild quarterback, but like they're winning games. So, and really, what New Orleans should do is actually they were competitive, considering like the quarterbacks they had to roll out with. They literally should just keep that staff and promote Dennis Allen, the head coach, and keep everything the same. And they'll be fine. And they'd be fine. They'd win 9 or 10 games.
And honestly, I think the quarterback issue is a big reason why Sean Payton's stepping away, because in the NFL, if you can't get the quarterback right, you're not going to win. And he knows that. And so he's like, this has been rough. I need a break. So I think the most likely scenario is that he takes a break, and within 2 years, he's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But we'll see.
I know you'd like that.
Yeah, we'll see. let's get McCarthy one next year. But anyway, I'm Gary.
This is awesome.
We're Midwest Mikes. We'll see you guys next week.